Hi, everyone. Welcome to our fortnightly, what would we call them? Information sessions where you get all your questions asked and answered regarding any of the modalities that I'm trained in. Now, normally I would offer the opportunity for you to pop a question that you want answered in the comments. But however, because I have offered the opportunity for people to send me questions in advance, they're definitely going to take up our time tonight, the ones that I've received already. So thank you to everybody for your questions. I really appreciate them because they're any question is a good question. And the more, information is power. So if we've got information, we feel more empowered to make decisions and the right choices in our lives. So once again, this is just something that's just started. So it's only a 30-minute session. I will honor that because it is a time of night where potentially some of you are still maybe even cooking dinner or just getting home from work. So being alive, it does stay up obviously on Facebook for a little while, but if you wanted to watch it again. But anyway, let's get on so we can answer some of these questions. And I have made myself a few little notes so I'm reminded of what the questions are. So if you see me looking down, I'm just trying to access the notes because if you've attended any of my lives before, you'll know that I can go off on a little bit of a tangent sometimes and get excited about the content and then forget what it is that we were trying to do. So the first question is, okay, quite simply, what is hypnosis? Now, I'm going to say this from the start. Hypnosis and its definition is a much discussed topic, if you like, in our world, in your world, maybe even. And excuse the bluntness of what I'm about to say, but we can't cut open a live brain, and we can't entirely understand, some of these concepts around mental health as a whole. And the operations of the brain, so the research that we've got can be interpreted differently by different people. So I'll just say that as the outset. Um, but what I'm going to offer you, is, I guess, an explanation that's taken on board a number of different researchers' opinions on what they believe hypnosis to be and what my study and my understanding and working with clients is as well. So here is an answer that I've come up with based on all of the research and, as I said, how I work. Hypnosis, we can agree, is a focused state of attention, not dissimilar to, focusing your attention on a good movie while you're driving a car. There's lots of research to suggest that we go in and out of hypnosis numerous times during the day. We might be concentrating on writing a big report for the boss, all sorts of times where we just need to narrow that focus in. We're aware of our surroundings. We're aware that there's things going on around us, but we've narrowed our focus down to the particular task at hand. So if we're looking at hypnosis in therapy, the task at hand obviously is to use hypnosis as a means for therapy, gaining a goal in particular. Hypnosis is very much a positive solution-focused therapy. So we're always sort of future projecting the suggestions that we're offering, and I'll get to that in a second, to make it a future focused, goal-oriented way of working. Now, in this focused state of attention called hypnosis, it heightens our suggestibility and our relaxation. It's often used as a therapeutic tool, as we said, to help people change habits. It reduces stress, anxiety, pain, and accesses the deeper parts of our mind, whether you call them deeper parts of the mind, the brain, the unconscious, the subconscious. Again, all terms that can be subjective depending on who you're talking to. But I'm trying to offer as much of a general answer to this that I can, so that you can have a basis for understanding and then form your own reasoning, I guess, as well, based on, the other people that you might follow with regards to the hypnosis topic in particular. Excuse me. During hypnosis, a person is guided normally by a therapist, or somebody trained in hypnosis, into a trance-like state. Trance being that focused attention state of just focusing on nothing or focusing on something, where the conscious mind is less active, and the unconscious mind, subconscious mind, becomes more open to positive suggestions. Now, suggestions need to be realistic and achievable. What's the suggestion? A suggestion is based on an outcome of a goal or a part of a goal. For example, if someone is wanting to quit smoking and their goal is obviously to quit smoking, a suggestion in hypnosis might be, and isn't it wonderful that you are breathing easier, that you are now running around the oval, exercising. So a suggestion is something, again, that is future focused based on the client's goal and their outcome that they're wanting to achieve. So breathing easier, you don't have to be a smoker or once a smoker to understand that your smoking is somewhat inhibited when you're a smoker, no matter how much you're smoking. So your breathing is inhibited no matter how much you are smoking, and breathing easier by not smoking would be an appropriate suggestion to be offering to the unconscious mind. So that's the concept. Somebody working in anxiety, and you're noticing that things that used to bother you no longer bother you, and that you feel more calm and relaxed. Again, suggestions that are conducive to the client's goal of reducing their anxiety on that example. Where are we? So open to positive suggestions, and suggestions need to be realistic and achievable. We talked about this last week. Goals and suggestions need to be realistic and achievable. So no, you cannot be made to leap tall buildings in a single bound like Superman or Spider-Man, because they're not realistic and they're not achievable. So, again, the unconscious, subconscious mind is only going to take on suggestions that are realistic and achievable. And no barking like dogs, because they're not realistic and achievable, unless, of course, you make a conscious decision to walk around barking like a dog. Despite popular myths, the person remains in control. Again, we talked about that last week. And I alluded to it just then as well, and cannot do and will not do anything against their will, cannot be made to do anything against their will. I won't say will not, because again, if a person chooses to, it's their will. Okay. So cannot be made to do anything that they do not want to do. So, if ultimately there's a part of them that says, I don't want to stop smoking, but I'm here because my husband says I should stop smoking, or my wife says I should stop smoking, or my kids say I should stop smoking. There's a part of them that is going against their will if they still want to smoke, but they're doing it for reasons other than themselves. So it's really important that we're working with somebody that has a really big desire and a will to create the change. Adding to that, if there's no will to jump tall buildings in a single bound, then you're not, regardless of whether it's realistic and achievable, you're not going to accept that suggestion, okay? Or your unconscious mind is not going to accept that suggestion. So hypnosis has been termed as all hypnosis is self-hypnosis. You choose as the client whether you enter into a state of that altered concentration and hypnosis. No one can make you do anything that you don't want to do. Even as a therapist, I can't make somebody go into hypnosis. I provide an environment that's conducive to them wanting to enter into that state of hypnosis based on their will. Again, if there's no will, there's not a lot of chance that the goals of the client are going to be successful. So again, just adding to to an example, using smoking again. I use smoking as an example because it's pretty well defined. You either smoke or you want to give up smoking. So in hypnosis or hypnotherapy, so hypnosis is the state, hypnotherapy is using that state for benefit. An example is that we start the client to at least get them feeling a little bit relaxed, where they would be then willing to enter into that state, a relaxed the art of relaxation in the hypnotherapy session is could be a minute, 2 minutes, 10 minutes. Again, very client focused. And if a client's willing and prepared and can say, yep, I'm just going to get right into this, we don't have to spend a lot of time relaxing client before we can offer the suggestion for them to go into to go into hypnosis and remain there, for the offering of suggestions. And as I said earlier, an example of suggestions, if we're talking about quitting smoking, could be things like, you find it easy to say no to cigarettes, your body's feeling cleaner, your clothes are smelling nicer, all those things that are consistent with being a non-smoker and not smoking cigarettes. The positive suggestions are designed to stick more effectively in the hypnosis component. So without the conscious brain there, that's kind of like the gatekeeper, the unconscious mind is more likely to accept these open suggestions. So I guess I'll tie hypnosis off there. This was just a very generic, as I said at the start, there's different, depending on who you talk to, there's different beliefs. I'm sure there'll be people potentially watching this video now or later on that are huffing and puffing and saying it's all a lot of crap, everything I've just offered you. Everyone's welcome to their opinion. I've offered a general understanding of what hypnosis is based on the evidence-based research that we have out there, based on my experience from working with clients, based on my experience from my studies and what I was taught. I do hold, at the moment in Australia, the highest level of qualifications in hypnotherapy. And, I took time to study with a accredited organization. All of that information is welcome to you at any point in time if you wanted to understand better what my qualifications are. So that's just, as I said, that's just how I've offered that explanation for the purposes of the question that was asked in this environment. I'm more than happy to go through that in extra detail for anybody that wants to contact me outside of our session tonight. Okay, so thank you to the person that asked, what hypnosis is. The next question I had was life coaching. What is life coaching or coaching? So, most of us understand the term coach by way of, a coach at soccer or football. And again, a coach is somebody that works with somebody for them to get their best outcome. So again, just using evidence-based research, some terminology again that I've been trained in, it suggests that coaching, so the particular coaching we're talking about here and I'm working with is more like a life coaching or a career coaching type environment, professional supportive environment, where the client and therapist create rapport and a relationship that is conducive for the client to make positive changes in their life. A coach may work with clients to try and understand what they truly want in life, so get them to clarify. So many clients come in for coaching and or counselling and hypnotherapy, not really understanding what their goal is. So through a series of questioning and building rapport and understanding and, sifting through the information that the client's sharing, the client gets to clarify what they truly want. Therefore, Once they've clarified what it is that they truly want, we can then set goals and work on skills and strategies to achieve those goals. We also get to identify any obstacles or limiting beliefs. And it's important that we address those and strategies to either remove those or moderate those or better understand those obstacles and limiting beliefs. We set achievable goals, we create action plans, and we work with the client to stay accountable and motivated. So it's a quite a I won't say complex. There's a number of things involved in coaching, but again, primarily always the client is our focus and what it is they're bringing into the environment that we can work with or better understand for them to achieve their goals. Another little note that I wrote here, unlike therapy, which focuses on dealing with the past, I call it peeling away the layers of the onion. So when we're talking about therapy in particular, for the context of what we're talking about now, counseling, psychotherapy, psychology, where we do have a focus as therapists with the client telling us about their past experiences and peeling those back a little bit. So unlike therapy, life coaching is more future focused, a little bit like hypnotherapy. It's about helping people move forward and grow and create the life that they want, whether it's in their career, their relationships, health, or personal development. Life coaches, really important quote here, or statement, I should say. Life coaches don't give the answers, nor should hypnotherapists, nor should counselors. No, therapy should have somebody dictating to a client what the answers should be. Life coaches help clients find their own answers, as I do also in counseling and hypnotherapy, through powerful questions, support, and honest feedback. So here's a bit of an example I've written down of somebody using life coaching or coaching to achieve a goal. Just imagine that someone is stuck in their job and they're not enjoying it, but they're not sure what to do instead. That's actually quite common. And I know I was there at one point in time, maybe a couple of points in time in my life, if I'm really honest. They feel unmotivated and overwhelmed and unsure where to begin. A life coach would start by helping them get clear on what matters the most to them, like creativity, flexibility, purpose. And often when I'm working with some clients who are in that mindset, I get them to create, just create their own job description, and put everything in there that they want. If it's working 10 minutes from home, if it's the ability to take their lunch, these are all really important aspects to somebody's perfect job. And of course, we know, I say no. There are perfect jobs out there. I'm working in my perfect job for me because I love what I do and I love the people that I get to meet and work with. So, we can kind of design a job to a degree. So where was I? See, I told you I'll go off on tangents. A life coach would start by helping them get clear on what matters them, creativity, flexibility, purpose. And through conversations, dialogue between each other, and some exercises, the coach helps the client to explore career options and align with those that are important to them and align with their values. If we don't align a job to our values, highly unlikely we're going to enjoy the job. I'll just leave that there. Together as a client therapist approach, we might set small manageable goals like updating your resume. So we start off small. We don't go in big. Big is too overwhelming. We've got to have small, achievable, realistic goals along the road. Then maybe researching the industries that we might want to work in and that we're interested in, and talking to people. I've even received a number of calls from people in the past that are interested in in working in counselling in particular, and they've called to sort of say, look, can I just get your feedback on, how you enjoy working in the industry, what the industry provides for you, what can I expect? So, yeah, research is super duper important in anything that we've been talking about. The coach then helps the client to challenge any negative thinking and replace it with more empowering beliefs. So even when I say replacing it with more empowering beliefs, we challenge the negative thinking, then we offer the opportunity for the client to accept different ways and strategies of creating more empowering beliefs. Again, every therapy is driven by the client. The client can at any point in time choose not to accept anything that we may be offering, but we aren't dictating what they have to do. Never should we dictate what someone has to do. The therapist provides encouragement, tracks progress, and helps the client stay focused on their goals. Over time, the client builds clarity, confidence, and momentum, often leading to a new job, which is exciting, and even a career change potentially. That's awesome. So that can be quite exciting for those that are really focused on a goal. They may not have an idea of what the goal is. The general goal of a shift in a job or a shift in a relationship, positive and negative. So it's about helping the client come to their own understanding of what it is that they need, and then helping map out a path based on that goal. So very quickly, just lastly, the question therefore is, for some, we're asking, what is counselling? And it's a very common question. I mean, counselling's been around probably, the understanding of counselling has been around for a lot longer than the understanding of what hypnosis or hypnotherapy and or life coaching is. I mean, life coaching or coaching is a relatively new, over a couple of decades, way of working. And counselling's been around for a while, but yet there's still so many that don't really understand what counselling is and what it offers. Again, just reading from my notes, a professional therapeutic process where a trained counsellor, and please, with all of these modalities, but particularly a modality that's going to be unraveling some of your past that may have been a bit challenging or traumatic, please always make sure that you are working with somebody qualified in that field. I cannot express more strongly how important that is. We all have people and people with their hearts in the right place that might want to offer some sort of, assistance, thinking that they're an accidental counsellor. And it's actually training for people who become accidental counsellors in the workplace, just so that they can ensure that they're helping people in the right way. One really, really concerning thing at the moment, it's beyond concerning, is that people are reaching out to ChatGPT and AI for answers to their therapy questions. And they're talking to AI like it's their therapist, and AI is responding to them. This is artificial intelligence, guys. This is a system that is searching for answers on the worldwide internet to help you, not on evidence-based research. So I'm not gonna jump on my high horse here, but I just want to implore you to please only ever seek assistance from qualified professionals. That's just, I'll put that aside for now. And if you want to challenge me on that later on, again, approach me outside of this environment, or we can spend a whole half-hour session on it. Not a problem. But I'm just going to leave it there. Please, it doesn't have to be me. I'm not saying, you need to be qualified because, I've got a biased opinion because I'm qualified. I'm saying your therapist needs to be qualified, or the helper needs to be qualified. So please get an understanding of that before entering into a relationship, particularly counseling, or psychology. Professional therapeutic approach, where we can help individuals or groups. We can work in groups in counselling, where they can explore feelings, thoughts, behaviours, and challenges. The goal is to provide support, guidance, and understanding to help clients improve their mental health and overall well-being. Counselling can address a wide range of things: anxiety, stress, depression, relationship issues, including domestic violence, grief and loss. Grief and loss is a very, what would you call, it's a very researched topic, so far as the counselling world goes. So people can find some grief and loss. I just did a very quick a live last week on grief and loss. I think the reason a lot of people seek assistance with grief and loss is that there's no handbook on how to grieve. There's no handbook on how to process loss. And again, evidence-based research has given us a bit of an idea on the types of processes that people might be going through. But, grief and loss, what am I supposed to do now that I've lost this person or this important thing? Am I supposed to cry? Am I supposed to stay in bed for a week? There's all different responses to grief and loss. And as a rule, we want to, as much as possible, normalize those processes for those people. And so grief and loss is quite a common thing that we see in counselling. Low self-esteem, which can lead to maladaptive behaviours as well. So, or a feeling of being stuck because you just can't move forward. So again, counselling is great to work through some of those areas of confidence and low self-esteem. Life transitions, it's a bit scary going out there and changing stuff. Changing a job, changing a relationship, or a divorce, or moving house, and borrowing hundreds of thousands of dollars to buy a house. So, those sorts of life transitions can be a little bit overwhelming at times. So again, we can help in counselling people work through those things. Traumas, as I mentioned, and past experiences are another topic that we can pull apart in counselling. So in essence, a counsellor creates a safe, non-judgmental space. Non-judgmental is so important for the therapeutic process to be successful. Our client needs to feel that they're not being judged, that they're being listened to and supported and assisted through that empathic listening. And we call that unconditional positive regard for a client, where clients can openly discuss their concerns. Through active listening, reflection, and different therapeutic techniques, the counsellor can help understand the feelings and gain perspective of what the client needs with regards to developing appropriate strategies and making positive changes in their life. Unlike life coaching, where in life coaching, as I said, we're concentrating more on goal setting and personal growth, counselling often deals with emotional or psychological healing, helping clients address past and present issues. And finally, just as we need to start wrapping up, there's different modalities that we call different ways of working in counselling. And counsellors can be trained in all or some of these modalities I'm about to mention, or they may specialise in some of these modalities. So some terms that you would hear with regards to the counselling space and other spaces is CBT, cognitive behaviour therapy. And this type of therapy replaces old or no longer useful behaviors with other behaviors. So this type of therapy focuses on helping clients identify and challenge negative thought patterns and behaviors. CBT is quite often used in treating anxiety and depression, and it encourages clients to develop healthier thinking habits and coping strategies. Person-centered counselling is another modality or way of working. This approach is based on the belief that every individual has the capacity for self-growth. The therapist provides a supportive, empathic environment and actively listens, helping the client explore their own feelings and solutions. Another way of working, solution-focused brief therapy, SFBT. We love acronyms in this world of counseling. Solution-focused brief therapy is future-focused, a future-focused approach that concentrates on finding solutions rather than analyzing problems. It's typically brief, as it mentions, and aims to help clients get practical goals and identify steps to achieve them. Psychodynamic therapy is rooted in I guess the thoughts and findings of Sigmund Freud. The psychodynamic approach explores how the unconscious thoughts and past experiences influence our current behaviors. It helps clients to gain insight into their feelings and work through unresolved issues. So psychodynamic therapy is the type of therapy that you would be potentially be spending some time just working through those things. Everyone is an individual, and some may get those resolutions quicker than others. So just a general comment there. Family therapy kind of speaks for itself. In family therapy, obviously, everybody in the family would come to a group, or as a group to a session to improve their communication normally between each other. It can help to resolve conflicts and understand how the family dynamics are currently operating. So, obviously, if there's an issue that's affecting the entire family system, it's useful to have that everyone come together as a group to understand the dynamics that are going on and the roles that everybody's playing. We see that a lot, in particular in addiction, where in addictions, there's somebody in every family that's playing a role in this entire process, even though only one person's going through it. The entire family is experiencing it on some level. Trauma-focused therapy, desensitizing and reprocessing is our main aim in trauma-focused therapy. Mindfulness-based therapy helps to teach the client to focus on the present moment. I always introduce the concept of mindfulness, and it doesn't matter how I'm working with the client, to use as a tool to help bring them back into the moment rather than being anxious about the future or whatever else is happening for them. Addiction counselling, I just briefly alluded to that, a specialised form of counselling for those struggling with substance abuse. Grief counselling, again, just mentioned that not long ago, helps the client cope with emotional, physical, and psychological effects of losing something that has meant a great deal to them, be it a person, a job, an animal. They're all processed the same way. And whether somebody is coming to me for grieving of an animal or a person, they're no less valued by me in their grief than for any reason. There's it's very important that we honor a person's grief, no matter the reason. Career counseling, again, like we looked at talking about careers in life coaching or career coaching, but also counseling. Some people will come for counseling just based on their career to help make informed decisions about their where they want to go with their careers, finding the right career path, navigating any job changes. So if we, sometimes some people might find it difficult to move into a change in a role or a different job. Managing work-related stress, that's a big one. And for those that have been following me, you'll know that that's a passion of mine. Not just work-related stress, any stress, because it does affect our physical being. Helps clients align with their values and their skills and interests with their career goals. Just a final note on counselling. Each type of counselling has its strengths. It depends on your goals. It depends on what you're familiar with. It depends on, how you feel you would like to work. And again, it also depends on whether the counsellor that you're going to offers the type of modality that you would like to work with. So, perhaps when seeking help in counselling and all of the other modalities therapies we've talked about, when you're inquiring and talking to potential therapists, ask them how they work. Ask them if there's a particular strategy that you would like to have included in your therapy, if they're skilled and trained in that. So, there's nothing wrong with that. Interview the counselor and ask them direct if there's anything in particular. Some people might come to me for a more specialized trauma processing like EMDR or I'm now sort of starting to go off track, but EMDR is a really effective tool, and used as a modality on its own is incredibly effective for some people that are interested in working with that way of desensitizing their trauma. I do use EMDR, but only as part of my therapy. So, someone comes to me and they would say, okay, Kerry, I've heard EMDR is fantastic for processing trauma. I need to process my trauma and desensitize so I can move forward. Can I use EMDR as as a way of achieving my goals with you? And I would answer honestly and say, as an entire modality for the entirety of our sessions, no, because I'm not trained to complete that goal just using EMDR. I am trained in EMDR, but as a tool and a skill and a resource in our overall session. So before I trot off on another little tangent there, I'll just leave that there. All of these topics, and they're great questions, are, open up doors to potential other investigation or potential other questions or further explanation. But as I said, we've only got 30 minutes, and I haven't even looked at the clock. I'm probably gone over the 30 minutes. But I'm going to leave it there regardless of whether I've met the 30 minutes, I've gone over the 30 minutes. I'll let you all go off and have a fantastic evening. And I look forward to seeing you again in another fortnight. Let's just see how we go. Remember, folks, if you've got questions, feel free to email them to me, to messenger them to me, to text message to me in advance. Then that way you're, I guess, guaranteed of getting your question answered. Because I'm just running with what I'm receiving. In the event that we don't get any questions, I'll obviously have the live going and people can pop their comments in, or I'll just create a random question and ask and answer it for you instead. All right, have an awesome evening, everyone. Take care, please. See you later. Bye-bye.